Hey, what's going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to talk about Week 1 Draftkings, the running backs. We're going to go over all the running backs. We'll give you guys a team-by-team breakdown, kind of what I think, and I'll talk about cash plays, GPP plays. But yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. I did already upload my early look video for this Week 1 slate. If you guys are interested in that, I did a brief overview of everything. But this video will be solely focused on the running backs for Week 1 on DraftKings. Also, I do want to say thank you guys for all support. Currently at 4.51 thousand subscribers. My goal is to hit 6K by the end of September. So a little over a month. The easiest way to support me, since this is all free content right now, is just leave a like button on the video, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell just so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. If you guys are interested in NBA DFS, I did already upload my video for tomorrow's slate. I will be live streaming for that as well. Also, if you guys cannot watch this video, I do also upload on Apple Podcasts. The link is in the description below, which is the DK DFS show. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. So, we're talking running backs today. Let's go team by team. So we'll start with Green Bay. We have Aaron Jones at 6'9". He is going to be obviously their lead back. I mentioned it in my early video, but I don't think we get 23 touchdowns again from Aaron Jones. Obviously, that boosted his fantasy appeal a bit. And there were games where they wouldn't give him a huge workload. Obviously, again, he is going to be their go-to guy. It's not necessarily the best matchup either against Minnesota. So Aaron Jones for Week 1 for me is one of those guys that I don't know if I'm going to go out of my way to play him, but if you land on him, I don't think he's the worst play at under 7K. He should get a good amount of work. That's kind of what I think there of Aaron Jones. They still have Jamal Williams, they have A.J. Dillon, they have other guys they can use. Jamal Williams will probably get some touches, but I'm not going to go to 4.1K Jamal Williams when he's going to be the backup. So let's talk about Minnesota. Dalvin Cook's at 7'9". I think he goes overlooked. I mentioned this again on my early video, but I think he goes a little bit under the radar because you have Christian McCaffrey right above him. You have some other guys below that I think will be a little bit more popular, like Eckler, Miles Sanders if he plays. So Cook's an intriguing play. Obviously, there's still discussions about him and possibly holding out. So this is, obviously would only play him if he's available to play. But I think he's an interesting contrarian option because Green Bay, I'm not really scared of them defensively. Cook's a workhorse back when he plays. He's a guy that can definitely get you 20-plus carries on the ground and, 4 or 5 catches. So Cook intrigues me here. I think he's more of a contrarian GPP play, but the upside is there. Now, if Cook is out, then you could look to a guy like Madison or Boone. I would assume it would probably be Madison that would step in as the lead back, and he would be then probably your top value play of the day if Dalvin Cook's not going to be available Week 1. So Madison is strictly dependent on whether or not Dalvin Cook plays. Let's talk about Miami. So Miami's a team that, at least for running back, I'm not super excited. You have Jordan Howard, who's going to be the early down back. Breida, probably their passing down back. I'm not going to get to 5'1 Jordan Howard. Sure, he had a decent year last year, but I'm just not doing it on this slate. Breida, I'll probably pass on too. If I had to play a Dolphins running back, I think I would just give that edge to Breida because his floor is a little bit higher with his pass catching ability. It's just, I don't think you have to do it on this slate. So Miami backs will probably be a stay away, even in GPPs. The New England backs, James White's a little bit too expensive there at 6K for me. Obviously, the upside is there, but it's just too expensive for him. Sony Michel is viable at 4.6. If you're a buyer into this New England Patriots offense, and you think there'll still be a good offense with Cam Newton running the show, assuming it's going to be Cam Newton, but all signs are pointing to Cam Newton being the quarterback Week 1. I think Michel is viable. He will only be an early down back. He's not going to catch, he maybe will get 1 catch a game out of the backfield. So, again, if you were a buyer into this Patriots offense, then I think he could be viable. They probably will be playing from ahead in this one. And if that's the case, you could see 15, 20 touches from Michelle. So he's a guy that I wouldn't cross off. It's just, what do you think of this New England Patriots as a team? Like, if you think there's a chance they could fall behind, like, don't rule out Miami. I know they're not great either, but if they fall behind by like a couple scores, and he's going to get phased out of the offense, which obviously is a slight risk. Chicago. So we have David Montgomery. Big news here. He's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. That happened yesterday. So there's probably a decent chance he's not going to be able to go week 1. If he's available, the worry is, he's just coming back from injury, and how much work are they going to give him? If he's out, then there's some value here. Tariq Cohen, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach, at least for now, and see what the coach speak would be if he is going to be like the lead back, because I don't know if they would run him into the ground. He's still more of just a scat back. Like he's a pass-catching back, a third-down back. Would they give him full 3-down role? I don't know. So this would be a situation I have to keep an eye on. If Montgomery's out and they're saying they're going to use Cohen as a workhorse in week 1, then he is probably your top value play at 4-9. Now, if they're going to kind of keep him in his role and maybe push a guy like Pierce or Ryan Nall in this situation, then those guys could become viable. Detroit defense is not great, so this is a situation that I want to keep an eye on and kind of see what the coach's talk is, and obviously keep an eye on Montgomery's status as well. Detroit matchup's not great. Kerryon Johnson's probably the only guy I would consider at 4-4. If he wins the job and is going to be the week 1 guy and gets like 70% of the touches, then I think he's viable, because he's another guy that is a decent pass-catching back, and 4-4 is pretty cheap for a starting running back. So if he wins the role, I think he's at least in consideration for value. Depending on what happens with other teams, he could become a viable cheap option, but there could be better value opening up with other teams. So if there's not a whole lot of value week 1 that I could see getting to Kerryon if he does win the starting job. Swift, the rookie, is probably going to be the backup. He's been dealing with undisclosed injury. Again, wait-and-see approach. I don't think I'm going to use him in week 1. Let's talk about Seattle now. So they have Chris Carson at 6'2". I think the price looks pretty good. The matchup's good, too. My concern with Carson is just doesn't catch the ball. Like, maybe one or two catches a game. The good thing is, I think if they get off to an early lead, they will just feed Carson. Like, I think he's a guy that could go for 20-plus carries on the ground if they do get off to a lead. And if that's the case, you could see upside here from Carson. So the price is viable. The matchup's good. So I think he's a pretty solid play in the mid-range. Slight concern, I don't think it worries me too much, but they said Hyde will be a big factor. How much, we don't really know, obviously, until we see, more, see them in week 1. I don't think he'll be used a whole lot, but obviously that is a slight concern to Carson's workload. So we'll keep an eye on the coach's comments for, obviously when it gets closer to lock here with the Seattle running back situation. On the Atlanta side, I mentioned Gurley. This is a risky play because the injuries with him the last few years, the workload, we don't really know what his workload is going to be. There's mention of at least 15 touches a game with upside of 25. So I don't hate the idea of getting to Gurley. I think he's more of a GPP play for those reasons that I mentioned. But if everything goes well for Todd Gurley and we get 25 touches, like he's a guy that can get you 5-6 catches through the air too, and he gets like 25 total touches. Like he could crush his salary. Now, the risk, again, is he 100%, still dealing with some injuries? How much work is he actually going to get? Could be 15 touches, could be 25. So this is more of a play for GPP. Again, good matchup. I think if everything does go well, Gurley's a guy that can definitely have upside at that price point. I'm not going to get to Smith or Brian Hill or backup. Don't think we have to do that. Philadelphia. So Miles Sanders, if he plays, I think will be one of the most popular plays in week 1. I think it's for a good reason. The concern with Miles Sanders is obviously dealing with this lower body injury, and that Philadelphia likes using the running back by committee backfield. Now, are they going to stick to that? I would say probably not. I think Miles Sanders will be their go-to guy. Maybe not use like some of the workhorse backs in this league, but I think he'll be a guy that will get most of the snaps if he obviously is out there. So Sanders, got to keep an eye on the injury. If he plays and is healthy, I think he is one of the top plays for his price. The concern is maybe they still use that committee, but all signs are pointing to him definitely getting most of the work, and it's a great matchup. They should be playing from ahead too. So if Sanders plays, I think he's a really, really solid play. If he's out, then there's value. Like Bart Scott, Chris Clement, whoever does, or Corey Clement, whoever does pick up a start, like would become a really, really good play because Philly and should be playing from ahead. Bart Scott's a guy that has had upside games when there's some injuries last year, so got to keep an eye on that. I think one probably would be Scott if Sanders is out, but he would then become a really solid value play. On the Washington side, I just don't know if I trust AP at 4 or 5. All signs are pointing to him being the week 1 guy, but he's not a guy that's going to catch a lot of balls at this point in his career. I don't think he's going to play a whole lot. They have other backs too, Gibson, McKissick. I don't really like this Washington team, and I know the price is cheap for a starting running back, but I probably would prefer other guys around his price range. Let's talk about the Colts. They have Mack, who was really solid last year. The issue with him, didn't catch a lot of footballs. Now we have Jonathan Taylor too. So this might be like a 50-50 workload. It might be 60-40 for Mack. And Taylor's at 5'7", Mack's at 5'3". Not really getting either at a huge discount. If you want to take a shot at one of those guys in GPPs, it's viable, but I can't feel confident right now with it looking to be like a split backfield, so it'll probably be a pass for me in week 1. If I was going to take a shot on one, I guess it would be the rookie Taylor and hope he just really impresses and they give him more work, but I'll probably pass in the Colts backfield for week 1. Let's talk about the Jags. So Fournette intrigues me at 6K. He's a guy that a lot of people are just not high on him this year. And I kind of get it. The Jags tried to trade him away. They weren't able to. They did sign the pass-catching back Chris Thompson, which does worry me with Fournette's workload. Like, how much are they going to really use him? But, you're getting him at a pretty decent price point. He was a guy that was 7.5 to 8K last year. So the 6K price point is viable here. And he's a guy that, if you look at his receptions, he can definitely get you 6-7 catches through the air. It's just, what is his workload going to be? Are they continue to use him as a 3-down back? I don't think so. I think they incorporate Chris Thompson a little bit more, which obviously is a concern for Fournette. But if he's still out there on 70-80% of the snaps, then yeah, I think he is in play in the mid-range here at 6K. And I don't think a lot of people get to him. A lot of people are not high on Leonard Fournette this year, but the price point, does, I think, make him playable for sure. Let's talk about Cleveland. So Cleveland's a backfield I will stay away from week 1. They're big dogs here against Baltimore. Baltimore pretty solid defensively, and Chubb at 6'5" is just too expensive for me. He will get phased out of the offense if they fall behind. And it's not a guy I want to target here week 1. They have to get off to an early lead for them to continue to pound Chubb on the ground. So it's just going to be a pass for me. And I don't think I want to pay 5-1 for Kareem Hunt. Obviously, he would get the boost if they fall behind, which, it's pointing to since they're, 8.5-point dogs. But I'm not really getting them at a great discount at 5-1 either. So the Cleveland backfield will probably be a stay away for me. The Baltimore side. So Mark Ingram's at 5'5". Just a GPP play for me because he's getting up there in age, and he's not going to get the full workload too. He's not a 3-down back. He won't get utilized a whole lot in the pass game, which is a risk. The positives are they should be playing from ahead in this one. And if they are, we could see close to 15 touches from Ingram. He is a little bit touchdown dependent, though. I think he needs to at least score 1 touchdown for him to really get you there at 5'5". So Ingram is more in territory of the GPP for those reasons, for the limited workload, for his reason of he doesn't do a whole lot through the air. Dobbins is at 5K. Again, you're not really getting him a discount on him. He's really impressed as a receiver. I think he will be more their 3rd-down back, but for a guy that maybe gets 10 touches or so in week 1, I don't want to do it. Let's talk about the Jets. So Le'Veon Bell at 5'6". I think that price looks decent. It's not really the best match against Buffalo, and there's been talks of him. The coach really likes Frank Gore for some reason. That confuses the hell out of me. But if Le'Veon is going to be, their do-it-all guy like he was last year, I think 5'6" is a pretty viable price point for him. Another guy that is very good pass catching back. And, if he gets 20, 25 touches in week 1, 20 to 25, like, he can have a really, really solid day for 5'6". So Le'Veon's a guy that I'm definitely considering for cash. I think he looks pretty good right now. Again, there's talk that they really like Frank Gore. They're going to utilize him a decent amount. I don't trust that. I don't see how Frank Gore gets a whole lot of carries, but you never know. Let's talk about Buffalo. Singletary had a really good year last year. The issue is he's still not going to be a full workhorse back because they have Zach Moss. And Zach Moss has been really solid as a pass-catching back. So Singletary probably is going to be your early down back, or Moss is maybe your third down back. If Moss wasn't in the picture, I think Singletary would look really good at 5'4". But right now, it could be a split. I think Singletary, again, will probably be the 1 and 2 back, first and second down back, or Moss the third down back. So I would say probably like 70-30 snap-wise. At 5'4", it's still in play, but I don't feel great on some of these teams that have those two backs that are close to 50-50 or 60-40, you know what I'm saying? So probably not going to get there. For the now Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs is at 6'8". He is a workhorse back, but like I mentioned with a lot of guys on this slate, won't do a whole lot through the air. The good thing with Jacobs is I think there's definitely upside for him to get 20-plus carries in this game if they're playing from ahead. And Carolina defense, I'm not afraid of. So this is a game I want exposure to. Jacobs at 6'8", I think is a fine option, but I might prefer backs around him just for their pass catching ability. Like you have Austin Eckler for $200 more. Even with Tyrod Taylor as quarterback, I just think I prefer Eckler to Josh Jacobs. And then I wouldn't consider the backups there. And Carolina, obviously McCaffrey is your cash game play. Even at $10K, I think you play him and move on. The floor is just so high. Sure, new coaching staff, maybe they don't utilize him as much. Like, he won't play 100% of the snaps, but I would say probably 85 to 90. He's a wide receiver and a running back, so the upside is absolutely massive on him. Not a whole lot else to say. I think he's a cash game play. Can you fade him in GPPs? The answer is yes, because there's a lot of running backs for cheaper that can have upside, 20, 30 plus fantasy point upside. So the answer is yes if you can fade him. Obviously, he's a risky fade because you know he's going to be super. I think you play him in cash. With GPPs, he's still going to be pretty popular. So the risk is definitely there. Obviously, if he has a good day, you're going to be in rough shape if you fade him. Let's talk about the Chargers. So Eckler at 7K is one of my favorite plays of the day. He was putting up good numbers with splitting the time with Melvin Gordon. Now he is their do-it-all guy. Sure, they still have Justin Jackson they can use, but how much they're going to use them, I would probably say maybe 80-20 for Eckler. And a really, really good receiving back, which I love because it just raises the floor on him. It's a good matchup, too, against the Bengals. The Bengals, one of the worst defensive teams. The downside is he no longer has Phillip Rivers as quarterback. Phillip Rivers loved checking it down to his running backs, but I still think Tyrod Taylor is a solid quarterback and a guy that will utilize Eckler. So I think Eckler is one of the better plays of the day right now at 7K, or of the week. Let's talk about Cincinnati. So right now, the big question mark is what is going on with Joe Mixon? He's been absent all week from practice. There's been reports of possible head injury or the contract negotiations, a possible holdout from him. So got to keep an eye on this. Obviously, he had huge games down the stretch. He was an absolute workhorse. If he plays at 6'7", I think he is certainly viable. He's a guy that not the best pass catching back, but can definitely get you a couple catches. So got to keep an eye on this. If he plays, I think he's viable. If he misses, if he's out, or if he's going to be not going to play week 1, then whoever is the backup would become a really, really solid value play. Whoever would start, obviously, whether it be Gio Bernard, Williams. So I would assume it would probably be Gio because he has been the backup for a while, but we'll see. And Gio's a good pass catching back, so if he starts and there's no Joe Mixon, I think he would be one of the top value plays of the day. Let's talk about Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay, cross it off. I just have no faith in Tampa Bay. They ran like a three-headed monster last year. Obviously, Jones did have some upside games, but just not enough touches. The offense probably will be better with Tom Brady at quarterback, but I just don't trust anyone. So Tampa Bay will be a complete stay away for me. On the New Orleans Saints side, Kamara at 7-2, I think is another. He is a similar play to me as a guy like Dalvin Cook. I think they go overlooked on this slate because you have really good plays. Obviously, McCaffrey at the top. I think Eckler gets ownership. I think Miles Sanders gets ownership. I think a couple other guys in that mid 6K range are viable. So Kamara, Dalvin Cook, I think they fly under the radar. But I kind of like Kamara here as a GPP play. It's a great spot. Like this game, you're going to want exposure to. It's the highest over-under of the day. He was playing through a MCL tear last year, so he's more healthy this year. I still don't think he's a guy that's going to be like a complete three-down back, but he doesn't need to be in this offense. Like he gets utilized a whole lot. The floor is high. He's a great pass-catching back, and 7-2 is fair. So I think Kamara looks like a really good GPP play. Latavius Murray up past the 4-6. He's only someone I really look to if Kamara is out. Finally, the Cardinals with Kenyon Drake at 6-4. I think he's a viable GPP play too. I mean, the running back in Arizona, you saw it last year. It was David Johnson in the beginning of the year, then Kenyon Drake to finish the year, have huge upside. Like they utilize, he'll be a workhorse back, and they'll utilize him a lot in the passing game. This Cardinals offense, they're super. They'll run a 4 wide receiver set most of the game, which is good for running backs too. Again, for pass catching, so they'll kind of spread it out, right? So Kenyon Drake, I think, is a viable GPP play, not a cash game play, but I like his upside. Obviously, he's dealing with a foot injury. Got to keep an eye on that. So if he plays, I like him for GPPs, like I mentioned with some of the other Cardinals on the slate. If he's out, then Chase Edmonds becomes probably one of your top value plays of the day. Like he'll be utilized a whole lot. Like he had games. Week 7 went for 38 fantasy points when there was, I believe, no DJ, and they still didn't have Kenyon Drake yet. So obviously, if Drake's not there, Edmonds looks really, really good. Finally, we'll finish off with San Francisco. So Mostert is a guy that has upside. It's a good matchup, but I don't trust it. I don't trust this San Francisco running back situation. They still have Coleman. They still have Wilson. They have McKinnon, Jerick McKinnon. They liked using a running back by committee. I know Mostert had good games down the stretch, right? He had a huge game against Green Bay, but I just don't trust it. They don't utilize him in the passing game. They have Coleman again. They have Wilson. They have McKinnon. It's going to be a stay away. Even at 5'8", I just don't know if I trust it. Like Coleman had games where they will ride the hot hand. Against Minnesota, 22 carries, 105 yards. He had games against Washington, 20 carries, 18. There's games where he was lead back. So they will go with the hot hand. I don't trust it. So I will stay away from the San Francisco running back situation, even in a good matchup. So I think that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Again, I do already have a video uploaded for an early look at this slate going over everything. I will have a video up for going over the wide receivers more in depth, as well as the tight ends in the next couple days. So be on the lookout for that on my channel. Thanks again, guys. I hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you all later.